Despite changing demand patterns and increasing supply chain disruptions, speed and reliability have become critical business priorities. This session will explore how Express Insights and logistic networks are helping business strengthen responsiveness, optimize inventory movement, and support growth in an increasingly dynamic market. This session is moderated by Mr. Dipanjan Banerjee, Chief Commercial Officer, Blue Dart. Can I have him on the stage, please? Please put your hands together for Mr. Dipanjan Banerjee, Chief Commercial Officer, Blue Dart. At the forefront of India's express logistics sector, he brings a strong perspective on customer-centric logistics, market expansion, and the evolving role of express networks in enabling faster, more agile supply chains. We welcome you, Mr. Dipanjan. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Gautam Kapoor, Chief Operating Officer, Shiprocket. As one of the key leaders behind India's leading e-commerce enabling platform, he brings valuable insights into digital commerce, fulfillment, innovation, and the logistic networks powering the growth of India's MSME and D2C ecosystem. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Fardeen Malbarwala, Director, Galaxy Freight. With deep experience in international forwarding, ocean cargo solutions, and end-to-end supply chain coordination, he contributes to strengthening the company's global trade capabilities. We welcome you, Mr. Fardeen. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Bhupendra Kumar, Head of Logistics and Commercial Flexible Packaging Business, UFLEX Limited. Working closely with manufacturing, customer fulfillment, and logistic operations, he offers a practical perspective on building efficient supply chains that balance cost, service, and business growth. Please welcome Mr. Bhupendra Kumar. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Tejas Mehta, Head Logistics and Marketing Support Services, Reliance Life Sciences. Working within one of India's leading biotechnology and healthcare organization, he offers a unique perspective on managing complex logistics networks where quality, compliance, and reliability are critical to business success. Last but not the least, I have a privilege of inviting on stage Mr. Vikas Goyal, Head of Supply Chain Management, Fortis Healthcare. Leading supply chain operation across one of the India's largest healthcare networks, he brings valuable insights into managing complex healthcare supply chains where reliability, responsiveness, and continuity of care are paramount. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the panelist and the moderator. Can we have a resounding applause? I think it's going to be a very brainstorming panel today. And for that, I have with me Mr. Banerjee. So, Mr. Banerjee, you can take the mic and please keep the conversation further.
Thank you so much. Am I audible? Yes? Good. So, first of all, welcome to all the panelists and welcome to all of you. This is a great show. I was walking around the booths and just telling people that how big the show is. So, we're at the right place. And probably this is the most important session of the show as well because all of us are here. This particular session, which talks about disruption and supply chain together, is a very important session and something that is very close to all of us. Because disruption at one point of time was probably periodic. It used to come sometimes in our lives. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we have only seen disruption is something which is probably increased its frequency. So disruption is today, or let's say getting prepared for the unprepared, is something which is core to how we plan or at least aspire to plan in supply chain. And today's topic is exactly on the same thing, which is how do you plan for disruption or maybe proactively react when you have disruptive events in supply chain journeys. And we have a great panel today which cuts across industries that handles disruptions in their own ways, handles supply chain in their own ways. We have people from the healthcare. Healthcare is something where disruption is uncompromisable. Healthcare is, supply chain is life. So you're not dealing with a shirt there, you're dealing with somebody's life. And we have 2 esteemed guests from that particular segment. We have two people from the supply chain. One handles freight, one is the most digitized shipping aggregator in the country, which is Shiprocket. And we have somebody who manages all of this through the right packaging and the right placement from UFLEX. So we have a great panel today. So with that note, let me directly delve into today's probably the first topic, which I'll go around the panel and ask all of you to comment for a while. In context of ongoing business and global disruptions, and you can think about any disruptions, which is geopolitics, the shifts happening, the FTAs or the tariffs going around, the constraints in supply chain that are there, the planning inefficiencies, etc., the demand fluctuations. What has been the most significant disruption impacting your line of business? And what is the one shift that has triggered in the way you plan inventory, replenishment, or distribution? And we can go in any order to start with.
I think you're global, so you go first.
Okay. So, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on this panel. So I will. So in my eyes, right, what's inventory is the capacity. So I speak about the latest geopolitical tensions, right? Now, we live in a world where now first disruption is the new normal. Something or other in the last 17 years of my career, I've seen that, every now and then there's something which leads to disruption and things change. In the latest, what has happened is that my vendors or the people who I rely on their service, the Middle East carriers or who bring the capacity to India, suddenly they were not there. And then you imagine this, that if an airport is handling 1,000 tons a day, 800 tons is gone. You only have 200 tons and the demand for the space is still there. People need to move, there's perishables. And then in this scenario, what in the latest what I have learned is that the multimodal connectivity is the most important thing. Or, being prepared, just to say that, okay, this will happen, and being prepared for it or anticipating and then having that agility within you, so that you are able to overnight, bring in new products or bring in new solutions, so that the things just keep on moving. That's my learning from here.
Yeah, thank you, Fardeen.
I believe that the world has come now the new normal. So the complement word for this is the VUCA world, where everything is volatile. And especially in the manufacturing from which I come, the volatility of the availability of the raw material and the increasing price is the major disruption which we have recently faced. Apart from that, the material lead time and supply continuity has become the major disruption to our customers. Nowadays, a brand owner or the FMCG companies, they are really working with a very less inventory because of these disruptions. But the expectations from their own suppliers is that the inventory is required yesterday. The packaging material is required yesterday only. So such kind of disruptions are really happening. And to overcome it, we feel that we should come out from the traditional forecasting model. We need to come to the very supply chain agile. Nowadays, the SNOP, P means planning. Planning has become SNOE. And now everything is execution. We need to be demand driven. We need to be demand sensing. If it is required in north, it may not be required in south. Sometimes you are preparing for yourself for the US market, but the product is currently needed in the Europe market. So we need to be very agile supply chain. We need to have demand sensing based. As far as express logistic is concerned, it has become a very important enabler for the rapid movement of critical materials, samples, and fast deliveries to the customer. But in recent past, if everybody has noticed, that the transit time for US or Europe from 2 to 3 days to 4 to 5 days, now it has reached to the 10 days or 15 days. So the delivery which we were expecting from this express logistic is also not happening. In a lot of hubs, I will not take the name of the big organization, those are the pioneer in this industry, the express industry. in their hubs, the material is not being able to locate as well. For 10 days, 20 days, that kind of congestion or the disruption is happening. So we need to be more planned, we need to be agile. These are the takes from current disruptions. And the key lesson from the recent disruption is that any industry, be it is packaging, pharma, chemical, automobile, that competitiveness is no longer driven only by the manufacturing capacities or manufacturing capabilities. Now, you need to equally driven by the supply chain agility. It has to be inventory responsiveness and ability to deliver to the customer on time. Whether there's a volatility, whether there's any complexity, whether there's any ambiguity, you need to deliver on time. So that's my take on this disruptive word on the express or the general logistics.
Thank you, very well said.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, compliments to IICS for making a fantastic show, and they deserve a compliment. Thank you for having me here. And before I express my view, one disclaimer I would like to make it. The view which I am going to express is my personal, not of my organization. And second important part is, they have been developed over a time working with the organization. But yes, organization is not responsible for whatever comments I am making. That's the first.
You need to
I think
hold the mic a little closer.
I think what point you have raised is very correct. What has impacted in inventory management and what is the change you have observed? My first question is, as a supply chain professional, you are at the forefront of getting the inventory and at the end, as a logistician, to ensure that it is delivered to the customer. First point, do we have enough inventory? Because of the disruption, today we have a scenario where we are handful of inventory because world was moving in one, just in time. Everybody agrees? That's a fantastic way to deal with supply chain. But today, if your long lead item is going to take 3 to 6 months and you don't have visibility of that material, will you be able to produce enough? So that's the inventory replacement at how much volume, how much period, and most importantly, at what cost. That has become the critical question for the planning side. Once you are done with that planning, the issue has come up is, do we have enough capacity to transport the cargo? As rightly Fardeen has said, I think our Middle East carrier were almost 75% of our carrying capacity outside India. The war started and everything stopped. I would say stop. Forget about moving slowly. It stopped and we came to a reality that we struggle with the capacity. Capacity to manufacture, capacity to send the stocks. Third important part to me is, having said all this repeated disruption has created one thing, a robustness in the supply chain, resilience, whatever we say. It still affects us time and again, and most important partly, it is coming unannounced. Nobody was aware that 28th February, this is going to start. Nobody had enough inventory. So that world is moving, and as you rightly question, what it has brought, this disruption has brought. To me, supply chain in the time of COVID had a shock. We did not have enough to produce, but we bounced back. Second, Red Sea crisis happened. We had an issue of going through ocean. So long-term shipment got delayed. When we had this war, now we have a shortage of air consignments also. So today, what has happened is in boardroom, I practically go every day to my president and talk about it, that yes, we have a constraint. Supply chain is not master of all trades. You also need to be considered to supply chain. COVID gave us a place in boardroom, and today this disruption has given a boardroom presence more stronger, stating that we need to plan it better. Earlier time which was not there, it is happening. So my take to this is, yes, inventory replacement has become a problem, but at the same time, overall, it has become little considerate to supply chain professionals, stating that yes, they also need to have planning, people need to support, and most importantly, everything will revolve sooner or later, first marketing and second to supply chain. That's my take on this current situation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good afternoon all. So if we see in a hospital, so we are considering inventory not as an inventory. It's a patient waiting for the treatment. So all the stocks which is lying in our hospital is not idle. So they are used for the patients who are coming for their treatment, pain, or for the diagnostics purpose. So if we see in a healthcare, so we all knows from the COVID time how the hospital supply chains are disturbed. And if we see the geopolitical tensions, wars between the countries, not bad, good or bad relation between the countries, or even in the local level, dharna, pradarshans, or kisan andolan, etc., that disturb the whole supply chain in the hospital. And if we see in a hospital, we are using a lot of medical equipments, implants, diagnostic kits, imported medicines, local medications. If there is any disruption, any stoppage of any road or supply chain, or that creates a problem for the hospitals. Although hospitals are maintaining the inventory as per their critical levels, safety levels, ROL levels in the system, but in a hospital, we can't refuse any patient. If you go for the restaurant or the hotels, etc., the particular dish is not available, they say no, and they give the choices to the customers over there. But in a hospitals, we have to treat, we have to acknowledge each and every patient so that we have to have a backup. And for this backup, we need a support from the logistics and manufacturers to ensure the continuous production, continuous supply, and the clearance of the road part or the custom part from the government side. Thank you.
I think from our perspective, I think there's a lot of industry inputs over here as a technology layer sitting above e-commerce business in India. I think our use case is the minimalist in this, because and if it's a garment or a FMCG good, which has to be moved from one location to another. But this industry, e-commerce, it's one of the most growing part of how supply chain grows, right? And supply chain business grows, at least in the domestic market. A lot of cost has increased. A lot of those costs due to fuel, due to change in manpower cost, all that has been impacting. I think the market itself is going through a massive change in terms of how the supply chain is, right? The industry itself is evolving. The cost structures are evolving. I think it'll settle down somewhere, but does it really, it does impact the industry quite a bit. The problem with this is that it is largely driven by the domestic needs. It's okay in that sense, but I think what it largely impacts is manufacturing. It impacts exports. It impacts a lot of the critical industries as well. But I think this is obviously impacting, and companies need to now understand what are the other options that they have. So, is for a small hyperlocal company, is going EV more becomes essentially important. That subsidizes the cost. Does the supply chain structure changes, then by virtue of which the cost of logistics reduces. So there are different parts of supply chain which go through their own innovation, but I think e-commerce itself is a hyper changing environment right now. Cost components obviously impact because of low margin game for logistics, but I think it's sooner or later it should be able to catch up.
Thanks, Gautam. I just want to add one small thought, and probably some recency of memory as well. I was spending some time with an ex-bureaucrat this morning, and while some of you mentioned about COVID, and I had the good opportunity of her narrating. She was a part of the COVID task force of the government, and her narrating the how it was navigated about the entire vaccine story. And because I was also dealing with this subject of what we had to discuss today, I went a little deep. And just for the audience, a complexity could be as simple or difficult as, because when we were trying to bring in vaccines, the government was trying to bring in vaccines, at what temperature, maybe my colleagues can help, at what temperature will that vaccine actually come in, and what is the size of the vial, even was not known probably 15 days before it came in. So when you're handling such a supply chain, and that is one of the examples, and there would be so many other examples that we all handle in our daily lives, that today you do not have you don't have 100% data on anything. And COVID was an unfortunate period, but we were fortunate to do a crash course on uncertainty in a way that probably has prepared us better as professionals. With that, Gautam, I'll come back to you again, because my next question is around the changing models of businesses. The changing models of businesses, specifically in the recent times, in the last 5-6 years, has been a lot more digital heavy. Quick commerce has changed the way probably FMCG works, and probably I'll go to you and Bhupendra for the inputs on this. is how has that changed? How has your inventory planning changed? What are the changes that you see in the industry? How do you actually plan for that, especially when it comes to speed, visibility, replenishment, inventory placement, and reliability with the changing models of business?
I think it's surely interesting times for supply chain. Everybody questioned this new format of supply chain, not very far in the future, right? Maybe 2 years from now, everybody questioned why this supply chain is going to be super expensive, etc. But what is driving it? It is driven by largely change in customer experiences. So a customer wants everything right now. Even if they don't need it, they want it. And want is somewhat more important than need these days anyways. So everybody wants something very quickly. Now, frankly, it is not just about FMCG now. It is about a toy that you want to buy for your kid, or it's even a pair of shoes, right? All the formats for all the categories is largely changing. It is so massively changing is because we can see the growth, and everybody who was in the traditional commerce, so life changed, like an Amazon came in and said that, okay, fine, 3 to 4 day delivery is something which is new, because life was 6-7 day delivery before that. Before that there was no delivery, but 6-7 day, very quickly moving to 3 days, very quickly moving to 1 day, and then this massive change happened, and this everything happening in 10-15 minutes. So I think between the 10-minute and say a 2-hour journey, there is a lot of there's a lot of not just e-commerce which is happening, there's a lot of commerce which is happening. It is also not just you ordering from a Blinkit or a Zepto. It is also when you call up a guy who is a grocery store next to your house and he delivers, or maybe a fashion store that you typically buy from, and that person is sending it to you by a two-wheeler vehicle. All that drastic change in the supply chain has happened. Now, it makes the life easy for the customer, but makes the life difficult for somebody who is planning the inventory, who's planning the supply chain. But I think beyond that, I think the supply chain has really evolved. The architecture of how supply chain was designed earlier, hub and spoke models typically for e-commerce. Now moving into a last mile delivery platform where you are bringing the inventory so close to the customer, it becomes the only problem is how you produce, how do you plan the demand, and how you are able to make sure that the inventory is there. Now flip this from a perspective of a brand owner. The brand owner is a small D2C brand. He does not have the capacity to produce throughout the day all the products. So he is really planning for that 1 month inventory for the next 6-9 months, so that he does not lose orders in a Blinkit order in say Connaught Place. So being able, the cost of storing the inventory, then deploying the inventory front up ahead, and then for Blinkit to bring it to the dark store and making sure that the inventory is being sold. And if it's not sold, it's all coming back. So it is the cost of, I think the overall cost of supply chain and being able to deliver to the customer will stabilize at a higher cost, which is okay, but because the customer is ready to pay for it. That's also one more discovery that has happened, that okay, fine, I'll pay 20-30 rupees for that extra. I'll eventually pay 40-50 rupees also. Maybe it's going to happen 1 year or 2 years from now. But for small brands, it's a big issue. For large brands, it's also an issue, right? If you go and talk to a Blinkit or a Zepto, a large company like an HUL is also not able to forward deploy in a smaller city, because for them, they have been planning this inventory only in the metros. But now Blinkit is doing what they would have done metro in a small city. So it's a big challenge for them as well. But I think the systems has to change, the planning platforms, the softwares that they're using, they need to deploy AI. I think it's just really more of a technology problem for the large guys. For the small guys, it's largely being able to produce in a smaller quantity and make sure the distribution happens. I think somewhere between that is the problem. But I think people who have the capacity to produce and store inventory, it is largely a demand planning problem, and they're stuck in the old demand planning software's capability. They need to change that, because everybody is still in that distribution model. They can't disrupt one distribution model to support the second one. So somewhere down the line, that's going to change. And I think this is the new format. Everybody is adopting it. And obviously, as companies who are trying to sell on this platform need to improve themselves, they need to improve their demand planning, they need to improve their production, their supply chain, everything, right? To be able to forward deploy, because that's the real truth.
Very well said, and I can relate to what you're saying, because a changing model could mean chaos for warehouse management. And the entire warehouse design is basically made on some assumptions, and then you have a change of model of what is getting sold and what kind of rack space you require or pallet space you require, and then you need to make changes so fast. And coming to agility, you need to make changes so fast so that you can support the brand to succeed. Bhupendra, how do you see this through your lens? Because you deal with a lot of brands who would be asking for changes in the way the packaging is, etc.
Actually, as far as there are 2-3 things you have asked. One is that customer expectations have fundamentally shifted from the simply delivery of the goods, availability of the goods at the right place, at the right time, at the right place. It has increased to the right time responsiveness as well. Because every time, if you'll see, when I order to a platform, I see that now the scooter has reached to my gully. Is this that kind of really required the quick commerce? Are we really in a need of that? The answer probably no. But the customer is so demanding. You have to mold yourself. You have to supply like this. Now disruption has come. Recently there will be a war between Pakistan and India. Everybody has demanded, now we need the 5 liter, 15 liter or 20 liter packaging. Earlier we were not keeping any inventory because quick commerce is there. I'll order now and I'll get that in 5 minutes. So 50 ml was more than enough. The customer demand is changing like anything because we are changing ourselves. Otherwise it is practically not required, honestly speaking. Another thing, as you said, is speed. It has become the competitive differentiator between Blinkit and Zomato, between Amazon and Flipkart. Who is coming fast? He is giving free, okay, that is fine, but it is coming fast or not? That has become more competitive. Earlier, the replenishment was being done in a month. Then it come to weekly. Then it's become daily. Later on, now it has become hourly or in minutes. So is this really required? Practically, I am against it, honestly speaking, because the guy who is taking one packet on the scooter from X place to Y place, he has to deliver in 10 minutes. Why? Because he will get a little bit of incentive out of it. So he is rashly driving. Somebody's life is at stake. Be honest and practical with ourselves, whether it is required. The third one is end-to-end visibility. That has become the key. Everybody needs the visibility of every product, which product is coming, from where it is coming, who's the supplier, and within how much time I will get. And third one is the collaboration. This is happening because of the large scale, small scale collaborations, because everybody can't set up a godown. I'm calling it as a godown as of now, because now godown has become warehouse has reached to the fulfillment center. So nowadays the right word is the fulfillment center. You need to keep the inventory, you have to pack it accordingly, and you have to deliver to your nearest customer. So it's highly demanding and challenging word, and you have to deliver.
That's true, because you can't stop it, so it's okay. And our job is to be able to make sure that we give the solutions for it. But you have to also understand that when I look at this problem, and now look at this problem from perspective of people or brands who are selling on platforms, you understand that it's actually a technology problem. Why it is a technology problem? Because you need to plan demand. Demand planning has to be different. Your storage, the way you build out your your batch numbers, etc. How you are able to inventorize, because now a Blinkit will require a smaller batch size from you, which is an Amazon was, or your distributor was. And then the whole supply chain changes because of that. How you pack the goods, how you pack the boxes changes, right? How you inbound it, how you outbound it also changes. What kind of transportation will be needed, apps changes completely. What kind of vehicle will be used for that particular transportation also changes. So there are so many changes because of the change in the supply chain which has to further, because it's a supply chain at the end of the customer, end of the mile, right? Everything has to change. Now everything changes, then production has to change. I think it's really a problem which can be solved with some part through technology. As people change their workflows and the technology, I think a lot of that gets solved also eventually. But yeah, that's it.
I would agree. And this is a large debate to what Bhupendra you also mentioned, and then Gautam. So I think this is all driven by what consumers want at the core of it. We cannot, and if you would have seen new models coming in the last 10 years, whether nobody believed that beyond books, e-commerce could sell in India. And that evolved. Nobody believed that beyond marketplaces, D2C could become so big. That has evolved. I think nobody believed that D2C could go international. That has evolved. And in the core of all of it are two important things. One is what consumer wants and how they want us to change. And second is technology enabling all of it. So I think these are the two pillars of it. Because India, and just my one bit on it is, we are at the cusp of such an India right now that the next 20 years will see multiple other changes. We are at the cusp of a per capita income which is jumping beyond the 2,800, 2,900. 3,300 is what I believe is a kind of an inflection point for an economy like us. And there will be see a lot more cars, a lot more buying behaviors changing into quick commerce. The next generation, my daughter does not know how to go to a store. So I think the density will only build up and tech will solve. So coming from dark stores, D2C to a little more serious discussion with our life science and life saving guys on the panel. I think, and I mentioned that the supply chain of life sciences is very different. A hospital operates very differently. A supply chain head of a hospital thinks very differently than what, let's say, a lot of people think. We handle a lot of technology, a lot of temperature control products as well. So we know how it goes and how our products are very different than how we handle in e-commerce. My question to Tejas and Vikas, and you can take turns. In healthcare and life sciences, time directly impacts treatment continuity. It is not an order getting delivered. And it also impacts patient outcomes. So the end result is basically not a consumer experience, but a patient outcome in a life. And in many ways, how do you stay ahead of ensuring crucial supplies, time-sensitive products, move quickly, securely, and reliably, and in the form that you expect it to reach the last mile?
I think healthcare is completely different than what we have spoken so far. You can afford to have your shoes coming one day later, but you can't afford to have medicine delivered later, especially when we into an ICU setup. Can you afford? No. And healthcare, most of the time when we talk about critical treatment, we talk about temperature sensitivity. So we have two dimensions, time and temperature being both working together. So if I talk about international shipments for me or a domestic shipment, whatsoever it may be, my packaging solution wants to maintain temperature at 2 to 8 degrees, and it has to ensure that it should be delivered at the destination within 120 hours. Come what may. I think that puts a dynamic in place is how well we are aligned to our objectives. Unless me as a manufacturer, my service provider, that is CHA or freight forwarder, he is aligned. Plus, he is also aligning with the airlines, authorities at the airport and at the transit, how fast custom clearance can be done. Entire value chain, unless it is aligned to serve a single objective that my product should be delivered within time, and wherever transits are happening, let's say tarmac or an airport, they are stored well so that temperature will not go up. So finally, when I go to Vikas and I deliver a product, he is assured that yes, the product which I have delivered is maintaining the temperature, and because it maintains the temperature, it will ensure that efficacy is maintained and patient is expected to get benefited. I have a choice. I can overlook all this and still deliver the product to him. Will the patient get benefited? No, because I have lost the efficacy. And that's an additional pressure all of us in healthcare go through, which normal e-commerce doesn't go through. And that is where reliability of our partner. I always believe that we never have vendors. In my life, in 7 years of supply chain, I have never called them as a vendor. I call them as my extended arm. They are my partners. I'll give a small example. In the first week of March, when the war is going on, missiles are flying, and I get a call from a marketing head Tejas, we need to send 25-ton cargo to Saudi. Temperature sensitive, 2 to 8 degree. That's we are talking about, I think, on 6th of March. All prints, everything will be ready by 9th. How can you deliver and how fast you can deliver? Because 15th is Eid holiday starting in Dubai, that entire Middle East. And for 2 weeks, it will be closed. You have a temperature sensitive cargo of 2 to 8. If I don't deliver, 2 problems are going to happen. Cargo will be at airport, and most importantly, it's an LC consignment. Company will not get money. In the month of March, you expect a big money to come as fast as possible. And that's where we are stuck. But then, as I always say, we have partners. We have an extended arm. I call 2-3 people and tell that this is what is we are. So don't worry. We'll work out. He reaches out to Saudi Airlines. He says, sir, this is what it is. He clearly tells me that I can do in 2 parts, not in single part. And both will be done on Saturday and Sunday. Give me entire cargo on Friday. We will ensure that Saturday and Sunday it will deliver. But Sunday, I will deliver by 12 o'clock. Your consignee is to clear on Sunday, otherwise Monday onwards, Eid holidays. We are working such a tight timelines. The beautiful part about relationship is, he speaks to Saudi. Saudi had additional cargo. They ensure that we had additional freighter in place, and entire cargo delivered on Saturday. 25-ton cold chain 2 to 8. Sunday custom clearance done. Monday LC deposit in the bank. Tuesday money in account. This is what I believe. Entire supply chain come together, deliver for a common objective. Unless we have not aligned this, I am very sure we would not have been able to do it. And we would have ended in the last week of March, where Eid holidays are over, and we'll get the money in April. And that is what I say is a value creation by supply chain. You can rest assured, cargo is going to go, your money is going to come. But for that 25, 30, 40 crore, if companies are going to get faster, and 50 days interest if you consider being a Gujarati, I think I'll make sense, right? I'll save a lot of interest for the company because we are having cash in account. And when I do this, I give an assurance to my healthcare partner, what I am delivering, I am finicking about my temperature, I am finicking about doing my job, rest assured, I'll be always there next to you. So you can trust us. And that trust, I think Vikas is there, we have been working with Fortis Hospital for years together. And he can always trust us. Most of the time, I'm not saying 100% time, but 99.9% time, I would have been with him whenever he needs a product. And that's a trust and reliability we have developed. And that has helped me in one way. I may charge a little extra premium to you, but I be there when you need me. Trust me, and that trust helps us. And that's what I always believe in supply chain. Do consider your partners as your partners, not as vendor. They are not transaction savvy. They are here for a long term. And that's what that's why I appreciate Blue Dart, I appreciate Shiprocket, or I appreciate Fardeen as a company. They do a lot of effort to ensure the reliability in place.
I'm glad that you said that. Vikas?
I mean it.
Thank you.
So if we see as an end user from the hospital, because we are the end users buying the products for the patients and for our doctors and technicians who are administering or using on the patient body. So if we see in the healthcare, the 3 things is very important: quality, cost, and delivery. This we call as a QCT. So out of cost and deliveries, quality is most important. And in a hospital, if we see, around 8 to 10% are stocks of drugs, vaccines, biological products, oncology products are cold storage medications, which we have to store between the 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius, or the diagnostic kits at the range of minus 20 degrees Celsius. So my friend has says in a healthcare supply chain, coordination, control, and trust, these 3 things are very important. So from a hospital point of view, we ensure whoever the manufacturers are producing, we have to directly interact with them, do the rate contract, supply contract with them, so that the hospital have an assurance for the quality, for the availability, and the continuous services and support after the after-sales service support is also very important. Second, if we see in a healthcare, so we asking, because we are going for the NABI, JCI accreditations, so we are asking for a lot of data loggers from manufacturing unit till our hospital site, how they are maintaining the temperature in the different storage conditions or transportation conditions, transportation ways of transportation. And they have to produce the data loggers and sheets to us, which we have to store and preserve and show to our auditors or the drug inspectors while they're coming to the hospitals. And third, if we see, now the manufacturers also come smart. They are using the indicators on the vials and labels. If they are not stored properly, their indicators color will change from red to green, green to black. So that gives the end user indication also that these vials, these products are not stored properly during the transportations within the hospital as well as to outside the manufacturer site or during the transportation sites also. So these are the certain safety measures which manufacturers, hospitals are taking care so that we provide our patients safe and secure treatment as well as the products also. And if we see in a healthcare, so in a healthcare supply chain, the three things are following simultaneously. The flow of information, flow of material, and flow of finance. So we have to consider all these three aspects so that we can ensure the quality, cost also, because ultimately this cost has to be paid by the patient through the insurance or through their out-of-pocket expenses, and the delivery for the continuous supplies. That ensures the safety to my patients, to our customers, as well as we all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Vikas. Very interesting insights from healthcare. I'll go to Fardeen and Vikas for the next. A very, very small question, but it is a very impactful section. How do you use data and insights and digital tools to basically plan a little better for a disruption or changing demands, or how do you use that?
Thank you. So for me, digital tools. So I first start with giving you the my definition of logistics. I split logistics into two bits. One is freight management, which is actually moving the goods, and one is moving the information, because without the right information, goods just sit at ports, or you will have damages. It just adds to cost. So moving information is very equally important as well as moving the right goods. Now these digital bridges play a major role in moving this information accurately and to the right person, and everybody in the same in the whole relationship has access to the data and the right data, which is very, very, very important. Like when I think of when I think of an example, a simple tracking from an airline gives you the real truth. Let's say you are in a scenario where your goods are stuck. Then you at least come to know everybody's on the same picture that okay, my goods are stuck in XYZ, and then everybody starts to and then this information is facilitated through these digital bridges, which is the very important part of solving the problem. Is what is the problem? That's one, and then it leaves us. It brings us to a mind frame where we are able to share information, or if there is a problem, we are able to solve it much more faster, we are more responsive because we have the right information with us. A simple case is like what is happening in the Middle East. Like, I'm sure people in this room, last December, not a lot of people would have even read about or knew about Corfacan, as a port. But then today everybody knows about it, and how is this information passed? It's through digital channels where, okay, there is a port, and then this is maybe, let's say, 2 hours away from Jebel Ali, and we can get these things there. So these are the digital channels or the digital bridges are something which I really advocate for, and I feel that they are the need of the hour.
Quite interesting. I was listening to him, and I was also, we work with multiple formats of logistics. So different, and I would say that the older formats of logistics, which have been there for a longer period of time, e-commerce being still new, it's still more digitized. But what is happening with, for example, moving cargo from India to a different country, exploring prices, etc. There is a lot of different platforms or forms of technology that different parts of this supply chain is using. In the new AI world, and we are working on some of those interesting things, is that how you are able to work between these different platforms, bring it onto one data layer, and then do whatever workflow, reporting, measurement, whatever you want to do with it. But being able to work on different platforms which were never connected before, because they were archaic, or they were never had the capability of talking to another technology. These archaic platforms, or platforms which are more more customized for individual users or countries or ports, etc., being able to talk through each one of them and being able to build that, I think the new AI world brings that new opportunity. Earlier, it could have been the same thing that is done through generating 20 reports and bringing that data together and sending an email to your customer today, or maybe publishing a database or publishing a report, can be done far more accurately and faster and with less efficiency, less effort being put into it and more efficiency. So I think that is something which is very, very interesting, and we've been trying to do a few things.
Yeah, wonderful. I think the theme that is coming out is technology helps you gather accurate information at the right time. And second, AI, to your point, Gautam, makes that entire decision-making system much faster. Or whether to see data side by side, or connecting systems, or allowing data to flow in free form, and then creating decision models to, bring agility to your system, is where data, technology, and AI all come together in a way.
And eventually also making them, once you have the information, once you are able to do that, once you're confident about that, this is the whole agentic layer to be able to automate a lot of those things which were people dependent earlier.
Maybe one question that I thought I'll ask everybody, but I'll primarily ask the users on the stage, because there are three people who manage logistics on the stage and three people who use logistics. And if there is something that you want partners to do today in terms of the way we partner with brands, or the way we try to solve your problems, what is that one change that you would like to see in everybody who has come to this conference, or people who are on the stage? Or what changes do you want us to bring in so that life is easier for maybe you?
Okay, I already said this, probably repetitive. As a healthcare service provider or a healthcare service professional, my request will be one: be aligned to the end objective. I'm sure we are doing it, but still that's a one more way, because as a logistician, as a service provider, your priorities are different and my priorities are different. My priority is my product has to reach in time. For you, the lane validation is more important, because that load is not there. You will not be interested in doing that. But my priority is different, and his priority is product has to be available when it is required for the patient. So end of the day, all our effort are aligned to one thing. We want to improve the life of the patient, make a difference in the life of a patient who is struggling for survival, or at times for a better quality of life if it is a chronic disease. So having said this, as all of us professional serving for a common goal, unless we are aligned, as I rightly mentioned earlier example for Saudi, all of us were aligned and within 48 hours we could manage it. This happened because it's a big consignment, lot of stake was there. Can this happen for every single shipment? Easier said than done. Every single shipment, we may not be in a position to give cost and a lot of other consideration. But can we build an intuitive system? You rightly said the data are available right now. I believe data has to offer two things. One is they give informed decision making. And second is a planned intervention. Like if a IoT-based option is available and my reefer truck is moving, and the moment I come to know from my place that temperature is going little out of range, it helps me that I can do a planned intervention. I can call directly driver. What is the scenario? Is there any problem in the vehicle? That helps me. So you as a service provider, I mean any of the service provider, if you help me to take care of my burden for that, probably I'll be spending my time in better somewhere, which I may not require intervention. So you become aligned with my objectives, and that will serve the purpose for probably everybody. I'm talking healthcare, tomorrow it can be anything. If we align with the common objective, I'm sure it will make a wonders.
Thanks.
And, this is real fact that this is not life science industry. We call it as a life-saving industry actually. And this is fact because, and the dependency of some of the key starting material or the intermediates is on the foreign countries. Like for some of the KSMs needs to be come from China only. Across the globe, you will find them in China only. And some of the materials need to be shipped from the Russia. So that is also a very critical part of this particular industry. You cannot produce it, whatever kind of backward integration you are having here in India, or in your own organizations. But some of the KSMs, you need to buy it outside. So that is a very critical industry. We need to support them in whatever manner we should.
So from the hospital point of view, from manufacturers and the logistics, what the support we required is, first is key when we do the rate contract with the manufacturers, so they know what the capacity of production they have. And we are also sharing our past consumption pattern to them, so they know what the expected consumption we have. So they have to link with that, what the capacity they have, what the production capacity, what the supply capacity they have, and what my consumption capacity. So that there should be no disruption of supplies when the rate contract is finalized with them. Because as a trusting partner, we are doing the rate contract with a limited 1 or 2 suppliers. Disruption after giving the rate contract, it's become a haywire for a supply chain to find out a new source and do the new tie-up with the suppliers. Because it's take a lot of approvals for the quality check and internal inspection, etc. So this is what's the most important thing, their production capacity and my consumption capacity, that has to be linked. Secondly, the visibility. What the stock they have ready in that manufacturing unit, what the stock they have in their distribution or the CNF agent, and what are the transportation, and what is my ordering quantity or economic order quantity which we are releasing to them. This should be in sync. So that reduces my burden or supply chain tension. Yes, material aa jayega, kal aa jayega. So we can avoid that tensions in the hospital. And third, if we see now there's a more concept on ESG and sustainability on the healthcare or even any industries over there. So the manufacturers or the logistics can set up their small distribution centers near to the hospitals or geographical areas over there. So the transportation time and the wastage on the petrol, diesel or the roads, that has to be reduced. And we can use the e-vehicles or the alternative mode of fuel, etc. so that we can save the environment and sustain the goals which the government or as a natural humanity, we have to follow the same. Because in a healthcare, every minute, every hour is precious. Sometimes some life-saving drugs which is not available in the hospital, we depend upon the manufacturers and the suppliers like Novo 7 or IVIG or immunocompromised patients over there. So whenever if we get the supplies promptly and instantly, then definitely the hospital team can save and do better for a patient.
Thank you. Very, very relevant points. So key things that I pick up is, one is better collaboration. I think information sharing, talking about, let me also admit it's a challenge sometimes, because in a lot of cases, supply chain partners are brands, sometimes talk transactional, and some of it is uncontrollable as well. And there is some play that technology can bring in, or what to suggest. There is a big thing that we practice internally is empowerment. We at least try to say that take calls, ask the right questions. Probing is a very big thing which happens, and you can add Gautam. I think that's one thing that we are trying to solve, how to probably give a similar experience irrespective of who is talking to whom. So standardize that experience is something, but I hear you. Collaboration, I think we have come a long way, but there is so much gap to cover. Yeah. We come to a close of this session, but I will not leave all of you without mentioning a very small word or a statement about how to handle disruptions better. What is the change that you would like to expect to see in any organization, and maybe related to your own organization, to handle disruptions better or uncertainties better? And I'll start with myself, and I feel that today we are in a very resourceful world. Resources is not an issue. I think sometimes mindset becomes an issue to handle situations. And I probably connect back to saying that if you want to solve anything, whether it's an uncertainty or it's a situation, or you want to anticipate, if you have the right mindset to solve it, you can solve it and plan for it. And maybe I'll go around the table and just take one word from all of you, so that the audience can take back them and then maybe think about their own businesses.
I don't know, trying to think of a statement which will help any of us. I think some of these disruptions are things that you can't do much about, right? I think economies or large enterprises will largely try to domesticate or spread their supply chain across, the key supply chain across different, especially from sourcing of their raw material, etc. I think that is one part of the things which will happen. But I think I'll go back to what I was saying on the how companies will adopt artificial intelligence, how they will use that to be able to be more flexible, to be able to act Now, largely what you would find is that when you're stuck because of your systems. Eventually, if you want to do something, you want to change something, you're stuck because, okay, this system can't do X, Y, Z because it has been designed like that for the last whatever number of years. People want to be flexible, sometimes systems stop them. I think in the new world, that changes, and something which you could ask your IT teams or tech teams to be able to change in weeks or months, that is a thing of ours. So I think that brings a lot of power to different departments and how you plan internally to make changes, etc., to be able to your system so that you can adopt. I think that is the only thing that I can contribute to this problem from a suggestion perspective. But beyond that, I think it's economics.
I would just like to echo what Mr. Mehta and what the other panelist on the panel has already voiced out. It's a very relationship-oriented business. Okay. It's a very relationship-oriented business. At the end of that, I call for true partnerships. Like it's no longer like so traditional. So generally, a freight forwarder would only be given things like, you know, this is what it needs to be moved, this is the dimension, this is the weight. Very seldom is that you know the real goal, or you know why is it needed at that time, and then you can provide solutions. So by that, transparency is something which is really required, especially when you're in a very disrupt environment, and data sharing is key. I genuinely believe that when you face situations, you would want to face the situation with the backing of a full team, which instead of having small pockets of people and then who are not aligned. So partnerships is something which I would say is really key to handle these disruptions.
Sure.
I would, in one-liner, I will say exceptional planning to handling the shipments when the exceptions are there. And the real word is the proactive. Proactiveness is very much required, and that can only come from the visibility and the collaboration between all the stakeholders. Like we were talking about visibility, it is really required from the suppliers to suppliers place. My supplier needs to have his suppliers visibility. Not only he, I also have the suppliers visibility. Secondly, there's a old principle of thought that we need to have multiple suppliers rather than depending on the one source, whether it is a logistics service provider or a material supplier. So we need to have multiple sources, because nowadays the disruption is happening everywhere. So if I'm buying from Russia, we need to have something which can be procured from the Europe as well. So that's my take on this.
I think my take is very simple. One is remain agile. I understand there are compliance issues in healthcare. We can't go about it, but don't be finicky about getting the things done in a same way every time. Based on the disruption, based on the outside world changes, be prepared to change yourself, and that's I call as agility. And the most important part, which is I think the most undermined skill, is be prepared for the cross-functional collaboration. Within the company, that is your internal stakeholder, and in general, outside world. Because world is going to be winner, provided we all have coming together for a common cause. Otherwise, individually, we may succeed, but as a overall, we may not be in a position. An organization, remember one thing, never built by individuals. It's always built by team, dedicated for a common cause.
So as from my point of view, so I have heard, learned in a book, I have remembered one quote, ki we cannot manage what we can't see. So visibility is the most important as per me in the supply chain. So visibility starting from the manufacturers to the hospital. And secondly, the healthcare supply chain and not merely moving product from one location to another locations. So they are enabling diagnosis, supporting treatment, and ultimately saving lives. So every link in the supply chain has to be connected and linked to the ultimate goal for the patient care. Thank you.
Lovely thoughts. Thank you, everybody. We come to an end of this panel. I think everybody shared their views, and we all came through a very consolidated view of the entire session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Can we resounding applause for our panelists? Okay, there is an audience question. Can we take one question? Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. The topic is a disruption. How can a lawyer and advocate can help you in the time of disruption? Because I am a lawyer. I practice in Supreme Court.
Getting the
So
claim
Little
settled
louder,
faster.
maybe I couldn't hear.
I can only answer, getting the claim settled faster.
How can a lawyer help during disruption?
Yeah. How can?
You just define force majeure a little better.
Force yes, exactly. Apart from this, because just like
No,
this
I have answer to this. Remember one thing.
two questions. I'm just complete the question. Just like the current political situation in Venezuela, currently the acting president, Mr. Rodrigo, is in India. Oh,
Can I
so-
answer on your behalf, everybody's behalf? Can I answer him? If you allow me.
Arlov, you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to finish the question
I-
first?
Then I'll answer in one line only. See, in partnership, everything goes well with trust. But when accidents happen, everything comes crashing down. So as a lawyer, you can stitch good agreements between service provider, customers, and the manufacturers. And we are able to get everything sorted out whenever a loss has to be claimed, as Tejas said.
Just like Mr. Goyal said, which you can't see, you cannot, they cannot give the solution. But you can anticipate something. Because many things, there is no idea where we will go. But you can anticipate. So when the time of disruption, just like in Venezuela, now the state of Hormuz, what is happening there, we are not anticipated. But we know, we all know that the war will go, it is ticking time. It takes time. So what at that time, how can the lawyer can help you in this time of disruption? This is my only question.
I have one small answer to that. Probably lawyer should be working prior to that crisis, so that during the crisis, I will be well covered, and post-crisis when I have my losses, you will be help us to cover the losses. This is jovial answer which I am giving, but in supply chain, we have a lot of contracts in place. And in contracts, we have been very finicky about the roles, responsibility, and risk. What is my role? What is my supplier's role? What is his responsibility? And if anyone falters, whose risk is to be? That has to be clearly defined, and that is where lawyer has to help us day in and day out. He do not have to wait for a crisis to happen. That's my take on
I'll
this.
just add, somebody, and this is a very common discussion when we discuss
Yes, yeah.
agreements, right? And we are all commercial entities. We have the primary responsibility of protecting our own business interest. And somebody once told me that legal agreements are for bad days, not for good days. So you have to draft it right and save for whichever organization you're working for, so that the business interest of the organization that you're working for is protected for the bad days. And what is unknown. So unk is unknown. So you don't know, what you don't know is what you don't know. So you can only do so much, right? Yeah. Thank you.
So
Thank you, everybody.
धंधे में वकील साहब की जरूरत नहीं है.
I think it's going to be a very great offline debate. A very insightful session. The conversation offered the clear perspectives on how to future-proof logistics in disrupted times. Thank you to our panelists and moderator, Mr. Dipanjan Banerjee, for this valuable dialogue. I now request Mr. Mohit Memani to join us on the stage to felicitate our remarkable industry leaders for their kind presence and knowledge, and present them with our token of appreciation along with our moderator, Mr. Dipanjan Banerjee. First, we have Mr. Gautam Kapoor from Shiprocket. Mr. Fardeen Malbarwala from Galaxy Freight. Mr. Bhupendra Kumar from UFLEX Limited. Mr. Tejas Mehta from Reliance Life Sciences. Mr. Vikas Goyal from Fortis Healthcare. And special thanks to our moderator, Mr. Dipanjan Banerjee. I request Mohit to please present him our token of appreciation. I want all the panelists to please come back on stage. We're going to have a one group picture.